being misled by the First Amendment, not by the amendment itself, which is pristine, but by how it's being interpreted. And all of this has come to light in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination. So, old adage, anything you say can and will be used against you. I'm the poster boy for that. Twisted, turned, out of context, whatever it may be. But the First Amendment is our most important freedom. And I hate to see it abused the way it is right now. And that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So let's define what we're talking about. Here is the First Amendment. Quote, Congress should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances, unquote. Brilliant. That's James Madison with an assist from Thomas Jefferson and a little advice from Benjamin Franklin. Brilliant. Holds up. But freedom of speech now is being used in a very political way. And it's getting to be dangerous. So let me run it down and back up what I say. We begin with Attorney General Pam Bondi, who a couple of days ago was talking about the danger of hate speech. Roll tape.
We've been fighting these universities left and right, and we're not going to stop. There's free speech, and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Okay, but it has to be a direct line before the Justice Department gets involved. So there has to be what they call a cause and effect. You say something, and that puts a person in danger or harms that person in some way. The line has got to be direct. Can't be indirect, can't be theoretical, or any of that. So Ms. Bondi, under some pressure, had to clarify what she said, and here is the quote. Hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. It's a crime. Far too long, we've watched the radical left normalize threats, call for assassinations, cheer on political violence. That era is over. Under 18 U.S.C. 875C, it is a federal crime to transmit any communication containing any threat to kidnap any person or any threat to injure the person of another. Okay, and that's fine. And that's the law. And it should be upheld. But again, it is a direct line. Evidence has to be there. I am going to kill you, Mr. Brown. All right? Now, you threaten somebody like that, the cops are going to show up. If you defame somebody, the civil lawyers will show up. You do not have the right to do that. We all clear. Okay. So, the leftist media, of which Ms. Bondi is referring, and President Trump does it all day long too, wants to change the country. All right? They don't like the country the way it is, and they want fundamental changes, so they have glommed on to the progressive left. And the leftist media, the five major national networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, MS, and CNN, they torture President Trump. And I use the word literally. They torture him. And he believes that this is a form of hate speech, which you could make an argument for that, but not a legal argument. You could make a moral argument that they hate him so much, the networks, that it is way out of proportion, harming the nation. So one of the chief offenders in President Trump's mind is ABC News correspondent Jonathan Karl, all right? And Carl approached the president before he left for England. Roll it.
And what do you make of Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, I mean, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
We'd probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech. So maybe they'll have to go after you.
Now, the president is being facetious. He's just giving Carl jazz. But a liberal friend of mine who should know better texted me and said, oh, look at this. He's ready. I said, come on. President Trump does that stuff all the time. It's not to justify it. You don't take it seriously. He's not going to go after Jonathan Carl. The 16 million, of course, was referring to Stephanopoulos on ABC, who called Trump a rapist. And that wasn't backed up by anything, so ABC had to pay all that money to the Trump library. All right. Now we go to Whoopi Goldberg. Ms. Goldberg is a sincere individual. She's not a phony like some of the others are. But she lives in a world of her own. So she is now talking about speech as well. Go.
I always thought that this administration campaigned on ending the weaponization of free speech. So I know there's a lot of stuff people say that I don't like. I don't like it. But as an American, I have the right to say I don't like it, and they have the right to say it.
But not on The View. They don't have the right to say it on The View because The View has not booked one conservative guest this year. Not one. I used to go on there all the time. I'm not conservative, but I certainly lean traditional when Barbara Walters was running the show. So Whoopi Goldberg is, yeah, I could say it, you could say it, that's all good. Well, why don't you have any other voices on your show? Every voice you have, every guest you have is a liberal. Every one. So this is freedom of speech? No, it's not. Because you're censoring one whole part of the country, refusing to allow them a forum to be heard. See that? Freedom of speech, if it's excluded, doesn't exist. If you can't say in a forum what you'd like to say, you don't have freedom of speech. And that is what the 5 liberal networks have done. They wiped it out. Totally. At least on Fox News, they don't have too many, but they have some liberal voices. Not on The View, not one. Colbert, not one. The only non-liberal he brought on in the entire year is Liz Cheney, who hates Trump, and that's the only reason she was there, so she could hate him more on television. All right, and it goes down the line. You know, I'm doing a book tour for Confronting Evil. You're not going to see me on a Sunday morning CBS program, which sells books, does a big author thing. They don't book anybody who's not liberal. Thank you, Jane Pauley. That's very, very nice of you. Freedom of speech doesn't exist. That is the con, C-O-N. All the liberals, oh yeah, I'm freedom of speech, yeah, but not on my show. Oh no, not booking you. It really, I'm sitting back here going, and I'm glad I'm being able to tell you this because I'm sure it never occurred to you because you can't monitor what's happening on these programs every day. I can, you can. But that's what's happening. It's been happening for 10 years, ever since Trump got into the political arena. So just sum it up. You have to be realistic about this. Pam Bondi wants to go after freedom of speech and say certain types of it are violent, lead to violence. She can do that. That is legitimate. But it's a very narrow window. Very narrow. It can't be an opinion. It's got to be a threat. All right? But Justice Department has the power. If you threaten the President of the United States, you're going to get arrested. Secret Service is going to come to your house. Or a senator or a Supreme Court person, any of that. If you threaten your neighbor and your neighbor can prove it, that this person wants to do me harm, you're going to be in trouble. Now, there is a glimmer of hope. So yesterday I did an interview with Major Garrett, my old colleague at Fox News, now worked for CBS, and he's a good reporter. And he called me and said, look, you want to talk about confronting evil in the State of the Union? I said, sure. So I did a long thing, which we posted on BillO'Reilly.com. You can see the whole thing, but I'm going to just give you a clip now. I was surprised to get that invitation because for 10 years, we didn't get any invitations from any network for anything. Roll the tape.
In terms of phraseology and definition, Bill, is there a practical and important difference between the left in America and the radical left?
Yeah, there's a difference, but you don't hear from the moderate left because all the money and all the amplification is on the radical left. So the big Soros money and the big dark money going in, they're not going to agencies that are traditionally liberal. They're going to, let's blow it up. And then that's amplified on social media. They want clicks. Well, who's going to get the clicks? The people that are saying the most outrageous stuff. And it works on the right too. But the right doesn't have the centrality that the progressive left has. And plus you got 5 networks that are sympathetic to the progressive left. And 1 network that's sympathetic to the traditional conservatives. So you're heavily outnumbered there as well. All right. So again, I was surprised to get the invitation. I was pleased to get it. We want to get the word out all over the place. But there's a lot of the censorship going on now, and I'm trying to break it down, almost single-handedly trying to break it down. And there's other things that I'm not ready to tell you about that are disturbing. But when I nail it all down, I will. And the reason that CBS did allow me to go on with Major Garrett is because they've had a management change. Skydance bought it, as you know. And Skydance doesn't want to be exclusionary, which is great. And I'm hoping that CBS rises. And that's a memo. When you're buried in credit card and loan debt, it's easy to put it off and say, you know, I'll deal with it later. But here's the thing. Done with Debt has a little-known strategy that can dramatically reduce or even erase what you owe. In September, they will aggressively engage our lenders. Why? Because they know which credit card and loan companies are doing year-end accounting and cutting deals to clear debt fast. That's why you need to start with Done with Debt right now. In September, they can help end your debt fast without bankruptcy or loans. In fact, most clients have more money in their pockets the first month. So get started while you still have time. Go to donewithdebt.com. Talk with one of their specialists, free. Visit donewithdebt.com. Donewithdebt.com. America is more dangerous than ever. With violent crime on the rise, while you could rely on a firearm, using deadly force today can land you in court, costing you years and your life savings. Trying to prove you acted in self-defense. FBI data shows 99.9% of all altercations do not require lethal force. That's why smart Americans are turning to Byrna. Proudly made in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Byrna's lethal self-defense launchers are trusted by law enforcement, private security, more than 600,000 citizens. Byrna launchers fire kinetic rounds and powerful tear gas or pepper projectiles, able to stop a threat up to 60 feet away. No background checks, no waiting periods, delivered right to your door. Take control, be ready. Visit Byrna.com today. That's BYRNA.com, or head to your local Sportsman's Warehouse. Joining us now from South Dakota is a former U.S. attorney for the state of Utah who knows the system inside and out, Brett Tallman. Kash Patel, head of the FBI, there's a report on Fox News today that the Trump administration is turning against him. Do you have any idea why? What is causing that?
Well, I don't believe it. I think what the articles I've seen, they're sourcing individuals within the FBI who were anonymous in their comments. I think it comes as a result of him perhaps jumping the gun too soon, wanting to have transparency and then, let people know what was going on the ground in the investigation, perhaps a little too early. He indicated that there was an individual in custody. That was not the case at that moment when he sent that out. He had to, backtrack on that. Look, I think this is, it is unusual to see the director of the FBI willing to give, real-time information as he gets it. I think he's probably learned a bit from this and may hold his cards a little closer to confirm.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the big deal? So he made a mistake. So what?
Exactly.
I mean, look, I'm not sticking up for Kash Patel. We've been trying to get him on the program for 6 months. He's giving me the big middle finger. So I have no reason. And I'll be honest, he didn't want to answer my questions. I mean, that's the last thing on earth he wants to do. Okay. So I'm not a big fan of Kash Patel at this point in history, but I don't see what the FBI, who's assisting the state of Utah in this investigation, I don't see what they did wrong. Did they do anything wrong that you saw?
No, I didn't, Bill. And I think, that's a fair point by you who, he hasn't come on the show. I'd love for him to come on the show. I think he should answer some questions that you have for him. And I'll tell him that when I talk to him. But good. I think, look, the DNA evidence, they did that very quickly that they found. They also have been analyzing other evidence very quickly, putting it as a top priority. They're doing what they need to do. And keep in mind, they are going to lead the investigation into whether or not there were co-conspirators. And if there are, then they will be the point of the spear.
Sure, that's a conspiracy. Right. And Mangino hinted at that today. But again, we're not going to get out of what we know and speculate because that's what all the others do. It's a total waste of everybody's time.
That's right.
But bear with me for one more on this Patel, and then I want to get into the state of Utah. Right now, from my vantage point, I have seen nothing the FBI has done wrong in this investigation. Am I missing something?
No, in fact, my comments from my friends in law enforcement in Utah County that are involved in this have indicated the FBI has been an absolutely terrific partner.
I'm glad to hear that. State of Utah, conservative state, not crazy, but small state. Death penalty is there. Can't remember when the last time it was used in Utah. Can you remember the last time death penalty was used?
Gary Gilmore was executed.
Wow.
Yep, I believe Gary Gilmore was the last execution by firing squad, which is still legal in Utah, but very unlikely in this case.
And there's no soft on crime stuff like Chicago and New York City and LA. You don't see that, right?
That's right.
All right. Mormon based. All right, which means Christian tenets from the Mormon point of view. So this guy goes through the system. His lawyers are going to plead, he's insane. You know that. That's the only way they can go to try to save his butt from the execution. But I have confidence that the state of Utah will be able to try this case in a fair way. I haven't, again, it's like the FBI. I haven't seen any evidence where you're handing it over to people who don't know what they're doing. You know way better than I do, though.
They do know what they're doing. They've handled their fair share of very difficult homicides. One thing to, for folks at home to understand, the insanity plea is very difficult in Utah. In essence, they're going to have to show that he has an incapacity to appreciate right versus wrong. That's going to be a very difficult burden in this case because there's plenty of social media. There's plenty of other witnesses that are going to come forward. And his effort to actually hide and conceal after the murder is evidence, the best evidence for knowing right.
It's not going to work. He's going to get the death penalty, but it'll take forever. Last question, the trans business. Yes. Does that have anything to do with this case? Do you feel that that's going to be injected? Because apparently this guy, the alleged shooter, was living with a guy who was trying to be a girl or something. Anything there?
I've not seen anything that suggests that it's a part of the evidence building against, the individual in question here, Tyler Robinson. But I do know if there is a conspiracy, if there is an individual, his partner and roommate is involved in it, then it will be injected into it, because it certainly may be the motivation. It may be what the evidence, that gets presented by a prosecutor to say, this was an effort, the motivation behind, this was the justification for his action. So I guess it's too early to tell at this point.
You bring up an interesting question. Does the prosecutor have to give a motive or just show that he did it?
No, usually there does have to be a motive to get juries. But in this case, I don't think they're going to need a motive, because it's so apparent. An assassination is so different than any other homicide. So I think they'll be very, probably relieved that they just
it might happen. I mean, certainly the news media desperately wants it. But the prosecution is not going to have to convince the jury.
That's right.
The assassin legislation's own family will be enough to do that.
That's right.
Because he was radicalized. All right, Brett. As always, you really deliver very good, pithy analysis, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
There have been, according to NPR, 30 people across the country either fired or put on leave who expressed joy after Charlie Kirk was killed. I think it's a lot more than that, but it's hard to get the whole country involved. But here are the major corporations that have fired people. American Airlines, Office Depot, NASDAQ, Perkins Coie, Carolina Panthers football team, University of Miami's health system, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Just a partial list. So companies have to take it seriously. You can't have haters running around screaming about, oh, I'm happy that somebody got assassinated. You can't. It just deteriorates the whole workplace, and so that's what's happening. In the National Football League, the commissioner, Roger Goodell, gave each team, home team, the choice on whether to have a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. 5 teams did not. They are Detroit Lions, Cincinnati Bengals, Baltimore Ravens, Minnesota Vikings, Indianapolis Colts. All right, the Vikings say they honored all victims of recent gun violence. The Steelers, who aren't on that list, said that they're not going to have a moment of silence, but they're going to fly the flags at half-mast. So look, this is certainly your purview to make a judgment about those teams. If I were you, I would write them a letter to the marketing director and say, why didn't you have it? And they'll come back with some excuse. But remember, you can do 5 things at one time. You can fly the flags at half-staff and have a moment of silence. If I were the president of the team, I would have had a moment of silence. Okay? There's nothing wrong with having a moment of silence. It's a respectful display to show the world that we don't condone this. But, you know how it is. But if your team's on that list, then call them up. If you are 64 years old or older, you gotta hear this. Millions of seniors are on the wrong Medicare plan, and they don't even know it. Don't know it. In fact, the Department of Justice recently sued 3 major Medicare brokers for allegedly claiming to be unbiased while secretly steering seniors toward plans with the biggest kickbacks. Whoa. That's why I am partnering up with Chapter. Chapter doesn't work for the government or big insurance. Works for you. They are the only advisors that compare every Medicare plan nationwide to find what's best for you and your family. They'll even help if you're hit with wrongful medical bills, and that is real advocacy. They have saved the average senior in America $1,100 this year alone. $1,100. Best part, their service is free. You can review your options in under 20 minutes with Chapter. You are in control. So please give them a call. 321-319-1576. Or click the link in the description below. We don't talk enough about those truly making a positive impact. So let's take a moment to discuss Delta Rescue, the world's largest no-kill care for life animal sanctuary. Home to more than 1,500 rescued animals. It is staffed by trained specialists who provide lifelong care, love, and safety. They do incredible work. But look, it's important to remember that Delta Rescue relies solely on contributions from us. I have donated, and so should you. Their founder, Leo Grillo, built a legacy of dedication and everlasting love for animals. So consider making it a part of your legacy too. Talk with an estate planner. Check out the estate planning tab at deltarescue.org. You can make a difference, even get potential tax benefits. So please visit deltarescue.org today to learn more. deltarescue.org. All right, final thought of the day. It is very difficult for me to discipline myself in a way that is not emotional. Because you got Charlie Kirk, I didn't know him, so I'm not in that world. I'm not in the ideological world at all. I mean, I know the broadcasters, but I don't know the younger people. I might have met him when he was really a kid. But just consider this for a moment. When I was 31, I was lucky I wasn't in prison, okay? I mean, I was still formulating what my philosophy of life would be. I was making a good living reporting the news, but I didn't have any astute vision at 31 years old. Charlie Kirk's 31 years old. Just listen, whether you like him or not, whether you agree with him or not, it doesn't matter. So he takes his philosophy of life, which is that America is a noble nation, that traditional tenets have made it a strong, noble nation, and that Judeo-Christian philosophy, religious belief systems, contribute in a very positive way to this country. Takes all that, all right? And he puts together an organization to bring that message to non-believers, like a missionary in college settings. And he tours the country, and he's got a website, and he's engaged in conversations at the highest level, and he wins over traditional America, and then he brings his message out to the rest of the folks. 31 years old, this guy does this. I mean, I'm looking at him going, whoa. If you read Confronting the Presidents, most of the presidents that were like me at 31, they were kind of wishy-washy. I mean, Donald Trump will tell you at 31, it's not. But Kirk, he was right on it. Now, I respect that, all right? And whatever he said individually about certain things, doesn't matter to me. He's an American. As long as he's not pushing hatred or violence, he's a right to his opinion, he's a right to state it. Same thing with the ladies on The View and everything else. It's when you cross that line into, I want to destroy people who disagree with me. But that's not what Charlie Kirk did. He wanted to engage them, right? So once I started to study him and put into perspective his life's work, boy, oh boy, it comes out unbelievably impressive. And I wanted you guys to know that I spent a lot of the weekend doing that. Thank you for watching and listening to the No Spin News. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We'll see you Monday. Thank you for watching. To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime, sign up to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium or concierge member today.